Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the MJCRM podcast. This is episode 5. This is my fourth video in a row, so I am doing quite well this and I'm enjoying it. Today, I want to talk about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and whether or not he is the right man to stay in the job and take us forward. Obviously, he was appointed after Jose Mourinho, and he had an absolutely flying start and with some fantastic results. I think he started off with a 5-1 win over Cardiff. I mean, bear in mind it is Cardiff, but the results we're getting before that, this was quite a surprise to everyone just how much he was able to lift the squad when he came in and did that. He was talking about Marcus Rashford and how good he thought he was, and he was saying, he actually thinks that Rashford is a better player than what he was and just needed to work on his finishing. And to be fair, since Solskjaer has joined, Rashford has scored more goals despite them being, quite bitty, and he doesn't do it every game. He'll go quite a lot of games without scoring, but nonetheless his goal scoring record has improved. So he must have done something right there. He also did that comeback in Paris, which everybody will know about. But then, after that game, there was a massive slump. And I don't think we picked up too many points from then to the end of the season. And it was, his job really, really was under threat at that point. So just for some context, we played Paris Saint-Germain that season in Paris on the 6th of March 2019. The next weekend, we lost 2-0 to Arsenal at the Emirates, and that's when things really, really started to go badly for him. A few days later, we get knocked out of the FA Cup to Wolves, knocked out by a single goal against a very, very average Barcelona side, as we'd find out in the semi-final when they played Liverpool, which, we should have been in that semi-final, in my opinion, but we were just terrible. Of course, we can forget the 4-0 stuffing against Everton, which is, other than the performance last weekend against Tottenham, that has been the worst Man United display I've seen in recent years. We beat up Man City convincingly by them. We drew against Huddersfield in May as well. I don't actually remember, I'm just looking at it, but we got beat off Cardiff 2-0 as well. Not only did we get beat on the 2-0 off Cardiff, that was actually at home. Which makes it worse. And, as you can see, there weren't too many great results after the Paris one. The hype of a new manager just died, and then so did the results. That's where he makes free signings. As what the board tends to do, and we don't qualify for the Champions League, they tend to throw a bit of money at the team. But what they tend to do is they don't quite go far enough. So if you remember Mourinho's first season, I think he wanted 4 or 5 players. And just for argument's sake, let's say it was 5, I can't quite remember, they let him sign 4. I think it was a centre-back he was missing. With Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in his first season, they signed 3 players, being Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Dan James. Decent signings, other than Dan James. I think people are a bit harsh on him. It's just his game. He is just a rapid winger, but, it is what it is with him. But again, they didn't go far enough. It was obvious, again, that he wanted another defender and didn't get it. So they did spend money, but, it didn't go far enough. That was obvious. I believe we were linked to Bruno Fernandes. I'm not sure how serious it was. Obviously, he did want it because we ended up buying him. But we didn't get him, and things might have been different had we signed him at the start of the season. We had an absolute horrific start to the season, getting beat 2-0 off West Ham, and obviously that 1-1 draw with Rochdale was an absolute disgrace. Going through penalties in that game, but it's not really the point, is it? We had the likes of Pogba playing in that game, and we couldn't break down Rochdale at home. Of Arsenal, we got beat off Newcastle, beat off Bournemouth. What tends to happen with Solskjaer, and it's what I'm just about to get onto, is that if you think at this point, we were facing quite a tough run of games, and his job was seriously was on the line due to the poor start of the season. We had spent money, albeit with the caveat I explained before, just weren't going well, so we really needed to pull it out of the bag. Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, which we don't really do. I know it was in the EFL Cup, but we still beat them. And that kind of gave him a bit of breathing room. People thought, okay, another game. We then go on to beat Brighton 3-1, which was a decent result. We had a good result in the Europa League against Partizan. Just about to get on to now is, he did pick up those couple of decent results, but again, they started to drop again. We got an embarrassing result in the Europa League against games coming up against Man City and Tottenham, more specifically Jose Mourinho's Tottenham. He made a return to where we beat them 2-1. And probably, to be honest, the best performance I've seen from a Manchester United team was the 2-1 win at the Etihad, where Anthony Martial scored that really good goal. And we basically just played fabulous counter-attacking football, and the defence was good as well. So when I say he got lucky with these two results against two big teams, which pretty much saved his job and gave him the January transfer window to bring in Bruno Fernandes. 4-0 in the Europa League as well with a kind of a makeshift team. So there was that as well. He got three good results in November when things were looking really bad for him. All that, we still lost 2-0 against Watford. So it's very inconsistent. We're so far down in the table. We're around 16th. And that was just to kind of give you a bit of background as to how bad things were at the second half of the season. I won't go through the results for the second half because they were much better. We all know what happened. Bruno Fernandes signed, and then the results kind of skyrocketed, and we ended up finishing third. Everybody goes on about what a great turnaround it was. The signing of Bruno Fernandes was a catalyst to the squad. He obviously brought loads of goals and assists, which were badly needed. And then we kind of shot up the table and finished above Chelsea. My problem with this argument is well, why were we 16th in the first place, or whatever it was? We're in the set bottom half of the table for a lot of the season. It was, as I say, he got lucky with the fact that the team beat two big teams in the league. But then we go and lose against Watford. It's like an inconsistency with him. You'll have periods where the team's unbelievable. I'll be honest, I've never really seen them play unbelievably, except for a couple of matches, against terrible teams in the Europa League, the odd game against City, etc. But it's a funny one because he used to have this knack of when things are going really bad for him, a couple of results will come in which saves his job, and I think that'll probably happen after this international break. He signed Edison Cavani, which he could save Solskjaer's job if he comes on and then scores 2 or 3 goals. That could win us, let's just say, 9 points, and then we're up to 4th or something in the league. I just think he does get really lucky, and he's not a great manager at all. That is obvious. They've appointed him because he's a yes man. He's not, he's not going to do what Mourinho did and challenge the owners. That's why Mourinho got sacked, or one of the reasons. I believe the owners really just hid behind the fact that they said he was playing boring football when, he won 2 trophies. Is that really that boring? I would rather that than, what Solskjaer's doing, which is reaching semi-finals and getting humiliated and knocked out. 3 or 4 semi-finals is that he's been in now. We've not reached one final with him. That's pretty terrible, to be honest. Particularly that Europa League clash with Sevilla last season, that was absolutely dreadful. So there's not really a plan with Solskjaer. I don't really know what he's trying to do. He's trying to bring this attacking football in, and it's not great. Let's be honest. Like, everyone talked about how great we were after the restart. I personally didn't see it as much as everyone else. I thought, they were playing well for maybe the first 2 or 3 games, and it became very sluggish, as it always does. Everyone said that they were tired. Well, everyone else was playing, a lot of football, but I didn't see that. Other than maybe the relegation teams, the rest of the top 6 I thought were pretty decent on the whole. Other than Liverpool, but they'd already won the league, so that doesn't really matter for them. So what I'm basically trying to say is I do think his days are numbered. I do like him, obviously, for what he's done for the club in the past and what he is ultimately trying to do, but he's not the right person because he's not going to get the backing from the board. And my theory is we do need Pochettino, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, he's a good manager, right? But he would suit the way the Glazers are running the club. And what I mean by that is Pochettino would probably get a bit of money when he first came in, particularly if we don't qualify for the Champions League this season, which I think is a strong possibility due to the fact of how well Arsenal are now playing, and also Everton to an extent. They could get into the top 4. They've got a great manager. But what will happen is that there's a kind of a second season syndrome of Man United, so they don't really get backed in that second summer transfer window. And let's just assume that happens again. Pochettino is great with working with young players, and there are plenty of those in the squad. So you've got Rashford, I know it's been a couple of years down the line, but he'll still be reasonably young. We'll have Mason Greenwood, we've got those couple of young lads we've just signed, the wingers, some really good young players there. And no doubt he'll probably try and bring in some young players as well. For cheap, I don't see why, the Glazers seem to be alright with that. And he's good at working with young players. He doesn't necessarily need big signings. to achieve a top four position at least. And we already have some good players in the squad like Fernandes and etc. And obviously Pogba if he decided to stay, which I don't think he will. My point is like I think he would just obviously there would come a point where he would need investment. He would get it to an extent, but I just think he can work well with the limited resources that the Glazers would give him. And I don't think this should be the way it's done. If he's given money, I think he'd be even better. But I think he is capable of being right. Okay, I can sign maybe one player this summer, but there's always young players who are really good in the academy, and I know I can do something with them. Um, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if we have if it ends up being like the 99 team where we have all these homegrown players leading us to success. I think that's even better, and that's great. And he's definitely the manager to do it. But I just think he is needed by Man United, and unfortunately for Solskjaer, he cannot continue beyond this season unless he wins something. He will get the job, keep the job. Sorry, but we just need to wait and see on that front. But I do think it is time for him to go. It's obvious he's out of his depth, and I do feel sorry for him. He's been kind of thrown in the deep end here. Did he want the job full time in the first place? I'm not so sure. That probably wasn't mentioned to him at the time. When obviously he took over as kind of on an interim basis after Mourinho was sacked. I know it is a difficult one. It's a shit situation that the club is in at the moment. Like, it's a disastrous transfer window. We've got a terrible manager. Pogba, you can tell he wants out if you see his comments from yesterday saying that, it's his dream to play for Real Madrid. So it kind of suggests where he's going come the end of the season, and it's going to be on a free, which is going to be even worse. So we are in a mess. But the best we can do is get Pochettino. At least then we've got a good manager who can work with young players, and we do still have an academy that is producing decent talent. I could obviously talk about this all day, but it's already on 12 minutes, and I'm not sure how long people would want to watch. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you